She's got her hands locked over. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cold in here.
Yeah. Get dressed on All right, it looks like it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Bowling Green to order, please. I'm going to start out by announcing that one of our members had to resign due to his business being out of town. So I want to go on record and saying that to Nate Everly, we appreciate his service. It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call
hold
this
on here,
meeting of
sorry.
the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Bowling Green to order, please. I thought I know that voice. I'm going to start out by announcing that one of our members had to resign due to his business being out of town. So I want to go on record and saying that
How do I
to
get rid of the
Nate
echo?
Everly, we appreciate his service.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
Got
going
it.
to call
Hold
this
on here,
meeting of
sorry.
the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City.
There we go.
That'd be
Thank you.
awesome.
I knew I missed a step. I apologize.
I'm sure you don't want to hear me say everything twice, but as I was
Okay,
saying.
sorry about that. My fault.
I need a company chair.
That we will miss Nate, and we're very thankful for him for his services. So I'd like the records to show that. And now we're going to go to the how the zoning board will function. If you haven't had the pleasure of spending an evening with us in the past, I'll tell you how it works. The zoning board is a quasi-legal experience, and that's why we have a court reporter. Frankly, we have the best court reporter in the state of Ohio that records for us, and I want that in the record too. And she will be taking everything that is said, whether it's said once or twice, she's going to record it. And we do that and we swear you all in because in the event you're not granted your variance or you have some other issue, that you can go to the Court of Common Pleas and the transcript and everything that happened here today will go with you. So you're going to need to be sworn in if you're going to testify or if you even think you're going to testify. And I will ask you if you would please stand and raise your right hand. And nobody besides Heather is going to speak tonight. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you are now sworn in. And if you would like, if you're uncomfortable because you believe there are too many people in the room and you're not comfortable, you feel free to go out in the hallway and we'll call you in as your particular variance is called. Okay. Now, when you come up to testify, we're going to ask you to come up to the podium and we'll ask you to state your name and your address and speak clearly because, as I said, Joan is recording everything that's said, even though it all sounds like mush right now. And now I need to have, is there a motion for the approval of the minutes as mailed to you?
So moved. Okay. Second.
Okay, we have, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. We have actually 3 variances that are written tonight. The third variance, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different requests for variances on it. And so I'm going to take each one of those requests separately. You know, if you're bringing forth a variance, you're asking us to take an existing zoning rule and change it for you. And if it is granted, it will stay with the property. It does not go with you. So just be aware of that. And when you come up to testify, please tell us why, if you were not granted this variance, or why it would be considered a hardship on you, why you're asking for this variance. And the first one we have before us today is Rob Hall of Toledo Sign has requested a variance to allow the construction of a 36-inch by 36-inch projecting sign at Trotter's Tavern, 119 North Main Street, which would extend 42 inches from the building face, exceeding the 9-inch maximum. Heather?
Thank you. If you don't mind, Mr. Hall, I can't see the
We're gonna-
TV.
we're gonna-
I know we don't have the best layout, so I apologize. Appreciate that. So we did reword the request slightly since the agenda. Nothing has changed as far as the variance request. They had a profile sign several years ago and it was turned into a wall sign. So I just want to make sure to clarify that. Under section 150.1, 150.66 outdoor advertising in B, I, M, and S districts. under section G1, when attached to a building, signs shall not extend more than 9 inches from the building face. Signs attached to a building shall not be located in a manner which is hazardous to pedestrians or vehicular traffic. So the only request against the code, again, is that extension of basically being a profile sign. Here's an aerial view of the property. You can see it's right here in a heart of our downtown. Using pictometry, we show you some different views of the property. I went back some time and you can see where there used to be a Trotter's profile sign. So that's what we talked about when the sign was amortized in 94. Any sign that was non-conforming without a permit was to be removed or made conforming. So I just want to show you kind of some history on that. Here's looking at the property currently. So you can see it's a wall sign there now, one sign they have. And then here's giving you more of a view corridor of that area of Main Street. As part of your packet, we submitted the actual sign package, so you can again see the proposed look of that sign, the dimensions, and then the clearance from the bottom of the profile sign to the sidewalk is approximately 11 feet that they gave us. We did not receive any written correspondence or any phone calls regarding the variance request. An advertisement was placed in the newspaper of general circulation as required. A site notice was placed at the site. The other notices required by the administrative code were posted in the proper time and location. A letter was mailed, first class mail, to the tax mailing address of the owner and adjoining property owners. Therefore, all the procedure requirements for the hearing have been met.
Thank you. Paul?
My name is Robert Hall. Do you need my business address or do you want this address for the location?
Your business address.
Business address is 2021 Adams Street, Toledo, Ohio, 43604. Basically what we're trying to do is it's fairly straightforward. We're trying to do a projecting sign as opposed to a fascia sign, just flat against the wall. Not unlike what you'd see at Mr. Spots right up the road, and then also Qdoba the other way. So generally it's fairly straightforward. We'd be putting it plate mounted to the wall. I actually wasn't aware that they had it beforehand. So, but other than that, do you guys have any questions for me?
I guess my question would be, again, what is the hardship for the?
Well, the current sign it's kind of starting to fall apart, and this is just kind of what the owner was wanting to do. He's looking to do. He noticed that the business is up the street, and on both ways, they're getting more visibility from the traffic coming up and down the road. You can kind of see on that the building kind of protrudes a little bit. That almost covers up the wall sign as it is now. So unless you're right in front of that business, it's actually kind of hard to see. So his mindset was, if I can get this thing sticking out a little bit from the building, people will be able to see it a little bit better. So,
And was there a particular driver for the size?
no, that was just the initial proposal that our designer did. He liked it, and that's the way we decided to go with it.
I have a question. When they design a sign,
Mhm.
do they look at the city ordinances before they do that? or
Yeah.
if they
Yeah,
do?
we were aware that we were
Oh,
going to have to apply
okay.
for variance. Yes. He was under the impression that since Mr. Spots had just gotten theirs and they were allowed a variance, he was going to have to apply for one as well. And didn't see that there would be an issue or anything.
Have you suffered any hardship as a result of that sign?
Oh, like
Your
I-
business prior to the current pandemic? You think your business has suffered because of that?
Well, I'm
sign?
not the owner.
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm
know.
not the owner.
know.
From what the owner has told me, he just feels that his signage is lacking in the sense that passing by, you can't really see it coming from up the road. You have to be basically right in front of the property, which there's only a few parking spots that are there. It's not like you're able to see it from down the road at all. You pretty much have to be sitting right in front of the property. So he's just trying to maximize his visibility.
Actually, there's no parking spots.
Oh, they're not. There's
No.
there's one, yeah, maybe 30, 50 feet away down the road. So what he's asking for, it doesn't protrude any further than what Cozell has. Doesn't protrude any further than what Mr. Spots currently has.
But does it protrude further than other businesses?
Oh, then there's currently, yes. I mean, the existing with the allowances is 9 inches. So,
Mhm.
and that's basically a standard sign cabinet that would be flat up against the wall. So
Mm.
any awning would be pretty standard on this. But
Anyone else have any questions?
Mm.
Okay, I will close the public hearing and then the board will discuss it and we'll come back into the public hearing and we'll vote on whether or not you're going to be granted your request for your variance.
Okay. Would that be decided tonight?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't, you may not be able to do it. Are you able to get a shot of Cadova? What I'm trying to remember, if that also has a small over. This,
I believe that's a flat face.
I was going
Is
to say,
it
that's a
flat
flat
face now?
face, yeah.
Flat against the building.
Yeah, that's a flat face.
and I guess what my concern, I don't have tremendous heartburn over some of it. However, go along, bigger
Mhm.
and bigger, goes directly against what the intent was.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, Spots, again, taken. Spots was a pristine frame.
Mhm.
Just allowed them to go ahead and
Mhm.
use that frame.
Mhm.
The
Correct.
coffee shop limited 30 inches. I'm not sure whether that has a slide over the front door. or not. This one comes along and this one's suddenly 42 inches, the full foot larger. Yes, that's concern. And you guys know, discussed this, asking from this type of role, but at some point, feel like we need to draw. And my feeling, I'd be fine with it at 30 inches
Yeah.
because that's what we have. Little uncomfortable going 42 inches. But I don't know how the
I concur.
So do I. It was, the Cadova sign was closer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
When I think some of the intent of the studies that they did also was to kind of, like you said, rein it back in and make it somewhat uniform downtown. So, I mean, some of the existing, like you said, and or the Cadova being a little closer, it's not as bad, but they're asking to push out quite
Yeah.
a bit more.
Excuse me, Bob, you wanted to see Mr. Spots, and what else?
Well, actually, I was curious about Cadova, because that had been raised before, and for some reason, I thought at the point in time that that had originally been brought to us.
They
it
did,
had-
Yeah.
they did ask for it to be a projection sign initially. It was not.
Mm.
But
Cadoba is a projection sign. It's
But it's
fairly small, but I would say 9 square feet is fairly small too. I don't know if this aerial is going to show us Cadoba because we only do these every 2 years, the flyover to get the
Mm.
aerials.
Yeah, I think you'd almost have to go to Google Earth to see it.
There-
Is it? Okay.
That's all right. It's fine. I was just trying to shape in my head. If there was an argument based upon the fact, this particular storefront does have a small awning. That makes a difference in terms of, what size sign we would like or would allow. But I still feel personally uncomfortable going above the 30 inch.
is it possible for us to try to resolve that issue this evening instead of having the reapply?
Yes.
We can make an amendment, he would agree, we could amend his request.
That's what I'd
Yeah.
like us to consider on the
How would you like to amend it? Have something to present? Amend it
table. You
to-
go ahead, you have the lead.
Well, my feeling would be that, trying to see where the wording is. Well,
Mm.
very well.
Here's, Bob, you get the new one, this actual, did you have that, you have this is the actual. one.
I don't think that any of us did.
I would just change it to had request of the variance, how the construction effective time tavern, which would extend no more than 30 feet.
that a motion?
That would,
Wait a
that would
minute.
be my motion, but
Like he
I
can't
think
make
we
it.
need
Yeah,
to-
we need to ask him if he's going to.
Okay.
Mr. Hall, did you hear, I'm sorry, I'm coming back into the public hearing. Are we done discussing it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Mr. Hall, that?
Yeah, the only concern that I would have is if we were to shrink the sign down so much, again, with how the building is protrudes out there with the mansard style roof almost. I don't know if the 30 inches would allow, I mean, I can talk it over with the owner. I mean, if you guys would approve the 30 inches and if that's all you will allow, I'll talk to him about it and then say, hey, this is all that they will allow. If that's all that you guys are comfortable with, then that's
So
that's
you're
what
willing,
we'll.
you're willing to make the motion
Mhm.
to adjust your variance to 30 inches?
Yes, we can knock it down. I mean, we could essentially, what we have right now is 6 inches of bracket off the face of the building. It would probably be a relatively easy overall fix. I mean, the actual oval portion of the sign itself is 36 inches. We could probably just butt that up against the wall actually, and then it wouldn't be too much of a difference. The sign would essentially stay the exact same size. We would just notch it up against the wall closer.
Okay.
So we don't have a picture of the sign up there right now, but there's like the maroon squared background, and then there is the white oval. The white oval itself is only 36 inches. We could essentially just butt that up against the wall. And then that would give us, we'd have to knock it down 3 inches per side. So which wouldn't be a problem at all.
What,
So
Bob,
it
what
would be
did you
30 by
say?
30.
It would
You
be,
said 30 or 36?
30.
we would have to
30,
knock it down
30,
3 inches per
30.
side, yeah.
Yeah.
So
30.
right now it's at 36 inches.
Okay,
And he
So we would
thinks
have
it's
to knock it
30.
down 3 inches per side. And then it would be 36 by 30. So it'd be 30 inches off the wall, 36 inches tall. That's how we would have it.
And you're all right, you're amending your request?
Yeah, that's absolutely
Okay,
fine.
that's
Yeah.
all- That's what I need to know, is that if you.
Wait,
you've
it's
amended
not
it.
30 by 30.
No.
Oh.
No, right now it is currently, the actual sign itself is 36 inches by 36 inches.
Right.
It protrudes off the wall 42 inches just because of the bracketing. So the actuals, I don't know if you have the sign in front of you, but
Yeah.
yes, right
Yeah,
here.
Yeah,
no,
I
we
do.
do.
Uh-huh.
We have it.
the bracketing is
So it would be 36 high.
36 high.
Is that conforming?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's
very-
36
conforming,
is what
yeah.
we're-
It's
Yeah.
only a 9 square foot sign,
9?
so it's
Okay.
Yeah,
pretty small actually for what they're
Yeah, I
allowed.
think right now they actually have a 5 by 4 or something along those lines. It's a little bit
Wait,
bigger than what
yeah.
they're asking for.
30.
okay.
So then we change this.
You changed the motion to the amendment, the amending motion.
Mhm.
Okay, may I have a motion on the amended request for variance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, just a minute.
Bob, and then Chris.
Bob,
Yep, and then Chris.
Bob and
seconded.
Chris,
okay. I will.
okay?
Mhm.
Will the secretary call the roll for the amended motion?
Okay. Judy Ennis,
Yes.
Hess, yes. Hobie,
Yes,
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Fliger,
yes.
Waddle.
Yes.
Chris? Did you call Chris?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did.
All right, your request for an amended variance has been granted.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your willingness to make the amendments that we.
Absolutely. Thank you
needed.
guys very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. The second one is Sunset Realty of BG has requested a variance to allow the construction of a 12-foot 7-inch by 20-foot 3-inch addition, porch with steps, which will encroach 4.864 feet into the 23.53-foot average front yard setback at 204 Eberly Avenue.
Thank you. So I'll explain this obviously a little further because it's not your typical 25-foot setback in this case. It is zoned R2 single family, which is typically the front yard minimum setback of 25 feet. But in this case, section 150.88 of front yards, its exceptions in the back of the zoning code applies. Under section A, when 50% or more of the frontage on one side of the street between two intersecting streets is improved with buildings that have front yards greater or less depth than the required front yard in the district, no building shall project beyond the average front yard setback so established. However, a front yard depth shall not be required to exceed 50% in excess of the front yard otherwise required in the district in which the lot is located. So in other words, homes that were built prior to the 1975 zoning code, and they don't comply with that 25-foot front yard setback, we take an average of that block. So in this situation, back in 1991, the city calculated the average front yard setback of this block to be 23.53 feet. So back in 91, the surveyor went to every home, did a survey from the outermost portion of the building, whether that be stairs, porch, front of the house, et cetera. And they calculated that setback from the center of the road. So what they do is they list all those measurements and then divide by how many homes were there, and then we get the 23.53 feet. So again, not a huge difference from 25 feet, but it does allow some flexibility for someone that wishes to do a project like this. So in this case, they did start the porch before there was a permit obtained, so I believe it's pretty much near completion. I don't know if there's a whole lot of work left to do. But I'll go through my typical spiel here of here's the aerial view of the property highlighted there. And then using pictometry, I try to make sure I show the north arrow so you can see that direction of that. But here's the white home here in the middle. And then we have another setback looking at the back of the property. Another view, this would be facing south, to look at the home there. You can kind of see the porch there that was existing. So obviously it did get expanded there to nearly entire that width of the home to make it a little more usable. And then here's trying to look at the front of the property, and conveniently there's a tree right in front, but at least you can see a portion of that. Here's some pictures of currently of the house. You can see that porch that was added. A couple other views here, not a whole lot you can do with the front. It's pretty much just some different angles. Here's a sketch that was part of your packet. The lot, in addition to not being, that 25-foot setback, it also was only 50-foot wide. So it doesn't meet the minimum typical lot frontage requirements. So it is 50 by 140. We did receive an email. I'll read that to you from a neighbor, Mary Dennis, dated Thursday, August 27th, 2020, 9:26 a.m. It was sent to the planning department regarding the variance request for 204 Eberly, to whom it may concern. I am writing in regards of the variance request of Sunset Realty for 204 Eberly Avenue. I live across the street at 161 Eberly Avenue. I have no objections whatsoever for the variance request. Since our purchasing the property at 204 Eberly, Sunset Realty has made many improvements to the property, such as new siding and trim paint and landscaping. The improvements that they have made to this property have greatly enhanced its appearance and thus has improved our neighborhood. I believe this additional work they plan will enhance the home and our neighborhood even further. I hope that the Planning Commission will approve this variance so that the work can be completed. I'm sure she really meant Zoning Board of Appeals. Please
We'll
let
the
us
planning
know.
commission approve it.
Please let us know if you have any questions about my comments. Sincerely, Mary J. Dennis, 161 Eberly Avenue, lists her phone number and she lists her email.
Thank you.
An advertisement was placed and the newspaper of general circulation is required. A site notice was placed at the site. The other notices required by the administrative code were posted in the proper time and location. A letter was mailed first class mail to the tax mailing address of the owner and adjoining property owners. Therefore, all the procedure requirements for the hearing have been met.
Thank you. Is there someone here from Sunset Realty? Sir, you want to come up and give your name and address to the court reporter?
George Nicholson. My home address, 702 East Gypsy Lane Road, Bowling Green, 43402.
Okay. Now you want to tell us that why you're requesting this variance, and if you weren't granted it, why it's a hardship not to have it?
We were just remodeling that house, took a horrible house and made it into a really nice place there on Eberly Avenue. And the porch that was there and the steps that were in front of the porch, we didn't really exceed what I thought was done. I'm not the contractor. And all we want is to put a roof on top of it, and that's what we were coming to you for. The porch maybe is 1 foot or 2 feet too far in front, according to your figures. I don't know. I didn't really look at the plans. I'm just coming in as a representative of Sunset Realty.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Not much can be done now. Done, right?
Well, if it's not granted,
not
it can always,
necessarily.
it can always be taken down.
Cut off 4 feet.
And I'm not sure that it is 4 feet. I didn't quite understand what you were talking about there, 23.3, and I'm not sure where that house is
Oh.
in respect. But other houses on that street are in violation too. Because we went down street to measure other houses and just more information for you, okay?
Hmm.
Because it is an older neighborhood, and a lot of those are older homes.
Can you put up the picture of the front of the house again?
Sure.
You were talking about putting an overhang on it.
Oh, yeah, roof on that porch.
Okay, I don't see,
No, we didn't do it. We
I'm
stopped.
gonna say that's not
Oh,
one,
yeah.
that's not involved in your, your variance
are
request.
you still planning on putting the roof over it?
Oh, maybe we need to request and then we could go for the roof.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
I'm
just-
sure.
no,
I don't go.
no, I'm asking a question because you said the intent there, and when I'm looking at it, it's 90%, you're saying it's 90% complete. I'm like, okay. I was just confused because you said there was an
Sure.
intent.
Oh, yeah, okay, we stopped when we were told to stop,
Okay.
okay?
Okay,
But yeah, the plan was to have a front roof over that, so it'd be a nice porch.
Mhm.
Is that gonna be enclosed?
No,
I do agree, it looks fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
does.
there's quite an improvement to the home. And any improvement to these homes is a great thing, believe me,
well, it's a great neighborhood.
you know?
Yeah, we have a renter there that's an employee of ours, and she's been with us for 15, 20 years.
Mm.
And she's very happy with her new accommodation.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing and we can discuss it among ourselves. Anybody have any feelings they'd like to?
Well, I think as long as they don't go and put a roof on that thing, if they are, I think they'd have to ask for another variance. Would they not?
No,
No, it's
No.
As
on the
long as it doesn't
application.
come out any farther
Yeah.
than that edge.
yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
application that they want to replace the roof over the porch.
Hmm.
So,
It's
yeah, I
his
mean, you're
porch with
really approving
steps.
both. I mean,
Right.
it's part of that project.
Look at this, pretty much the steps that are
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, I think it looks, I mean, I think it's a good thing for the neighborhood, do things like that, for the older homes anyway.
anybody else have any comments, questions?
Mm.
If not, we'll go back into public hearing and I will ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
motion is made and seconded. Will the secretary call the roll, please?
Mhm. Chris Ostrowski,
Yes.
Judy Anna,
Yes.
Bob Waddle,
Yes.
Toby Johnson,
Yes.
David Flieger,
Yes.
Rose Hass, yes.
Your request for your variance is granted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can feel free to leave. You don't have to stay here with us unless you really enjoy it. If you better be careful though, because if you really enjoy it, we'll put you on the board.
Yeah, no kidding.
Um,
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Good night.
Good night. Christopher Fraser, agent on behalf of BG Hotel LLC, has requested variance for the construction of new signage at the new hotel being constructed at 1630 East Worcester Street as follows. And as I mentioned, there are 4 different requests for variances on here. The first one is for the construction of a 169.56 square foot wall sign on the east elevation of the building, which would exceed the 112 maximum allowable size of a sign in the B2 General Commercial Zoning District by 57.56 square feet. We're going to take that request just by itself. So Heather?
Okay, I'm not going to repeat all that, of course, but I will go to the actual code. I do not have this broken down though, so I'll
That's
just,
okay.
is that
That's-
okay? Just
yeah,
go through
just
that?
go.
Okay, so basically we're looking at section 150.66, which is outdoor advertising, and BIM R-C in S districts. Under section D, no outdoor advertising shall exceed the following limitations. This property is zone B2 General Commercial, so under that zoning, the formula for allowable sign area is 112 square feet maximum. In this case, there is a formula you can use, width of the building front times 1.6 plus 40 square feet, but it's whichever is less. So in this case, the 112 is the number that we use for maximum size of one sign. In the same section, but this time under E1, no more than 3 outdoor advertising structures shall be used for each business or structure and must be located on the same lot or premises, except as provided in 150.65 mall or arcade type structures, which will permit other signs designated the location of the stores within a mall area. Also under outdoor advertising, but this time E2, total aggregate square footage for outdoor advertising for each business or structure may not exceed the following. Again, under the zoning district, it's labeled total allowable square footage for total aggregate of all signs is 336 square feet. You want me to continue?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Here's an aerial view of the property highlighting where, of course, you can't see the hotel now, but there is a substantial amount of the hotel Home2 Suites there close to being finished. So you can see there's the parcel with the hotel, and then there is a remaining parcel to the west there that's not yet developed. They wish to put that pylon on that adjacent parcel. Here's a view of the property now with the hotel. This is looking from the east elevation there. This is looking basically towards Speedway, towards the front of the property there. It does set back a bit off East Wooster Street. And then here is angled toward that additional parcel we looked at earlier that shows that it's still vacant property. Again, you can still see it's under construction, of course. Here's another view looking towards the front of the property from East Wooster. And then here's looking more straight on where potentially that sign would go. You can see there will be a shared driveway between both the properties in the future. These drawings are a bit hard to read, of course, online, but you do have a copy in your packet. This first diagram does show the wall signage locations. This shows the northern elevation, which would be the front of the building. We're calling that sign number 1, again, just to give you an idea of the sign count and keep track of those. Now that sign is in compliance. There's no size issues. Again, just showing you the whole sign package, so you have that. Here's another sign. This would be on the west elevation. Again, there's no variance needed for that. That's approximately 42 square feet. And then looking at the eastern elevation where they wish, I'm assuming, to have that prominent sign, that does exceed that 112 square feet. And that would have been the third sign. And then we have the pylon, that would be sign number 4 to list Home2, future tenant panels, and then also, again, would be off premise that we mentioned before. Here is the part of your sign packet that you received also. So just to clarify, they're not asking for variance on the location, but for the record, I did want to make sure we all know it has to be 25 feet back from the right of way, and that's the leading edge of the sign. So we always try to be very careful with pylons because again, we want them set back properly. Also, this does show the parcel configuration again and highlights the Home2 site plan with the parking in the hotel, and then again, that vacant parcel. We did not receive any written or verbal correspondence from any neighboring property owners. An advertisement was placed in the newspaper of general circulation as required. A site notice was placed at the site. The other notices required by the administrative code were posted in the proper time and location. A letter was mailed, first class mail, to the tax mailing address of the owner and adjoining property owners. Therefore, all the procedure requirements for the hearing have been met.
Thank you. Mr. Fraser, are you here? Oh, there you are. Okay. Want to state your name and your address, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Fraser. My address in Bowling Green here is 306 Industrial Parkway, Suite A. I am.
We're addressing the first one, the
Yes,
first
ma'am.
request. Okay.
What I'd like to address first is that unfortunately, I'm an attorney acting as agent for the property owner. I did bring a general contractor who is also an agent of the property owner. I'd like him to speak more to the board today, just because I think he has more technical knowledge. He
Okay.
might be able to answer questions better for everyone here. If necessary, I can jump in and assist where necessary, but I think he'd be a better fit for this role.
Okay. Sir,
Mr. A.
and you take your name and address too, please.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Richard. Everybody calls me Richie. Last name is Atto, A-T-T-O. My address is 2150 Franklin, and that's in Bloomfield Township, Michigan,
Okay,
48302. It sounds like we're asking for a lot, but when you break it down, one of the most important things for this hotel that we're actually very proud of, it's Home 2 Hotel. It's a Hilton product. Right now, Hilton, the Home 2 brand that Hilton has is one of their highest occupancy. Somehow the travel community has taken to a liking, and it's a very popular brand. And on the east side, which faces the freeway, it's so far away, and there's no way to visually view the sign. So the hardship would be that if there was a smaller sign facing that elevation, it would almost be illegible. So we're not asking for a variance for 3 size of signs because the other signs are closer to the road and they're easy to read and they're legible. But having this one on the east where, because we're set back so far from the road and behind another building, and the position on the building makes it even farther, it would almost be impossible to read. In this type of business, in the hotel business, it's critical that the travelers be able to visualize even the logo and maybe they don't read the name, but they recognize the logo as they're proceeding from the freeway. So I can talk about other things, but if we want to
Can
just
I ask
stay
you a
on the
question
east
about that
elevation.
picture real quick? Is that the Speedway?
Yes.
yeah,
Is that Speedway going to stay there, or is that moving?
we did
Yeah.
that,
That's gonna come down.
yeah, that's
Yes.
coming down.
Okay, so,
No,
No,
the
no,
canopy,
no,
the canopy will still be there.
The canopy's gonna,
no, I thought the building itself, when we approved
Yeah,
that
they're
one,
scraping
they
the
were
entire
moving-
site.
That-
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
moving that
There's-
entire
there's-
The
side.
there's-
canopy is, well, they're
Mhm.
gonna- I thought the canopy is 8 pumps. And it's going,
I can't hear you, Hobie.
I'm sorry, I thought the canopy was gonna house 8 pumps underneath
will.
that.
It is, but it's
Which
shifting.
makes it,
It's all going to be new.
yes,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
it'll still occupy that same location as well as going further west, or east. I'm
Right, pretty
sorry.
much is everything shifting west,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
East or west?
East.
East.
The
East, I'm
building
sorry,
itself
yes,
is
east.
gonna go
Oh,
more
yes,
toward.
Yeah,
Going
the east,
to the
the
left,
east,
to the
the
east
building
side.
canopy will all shift.
but the canopy-
Everything is, yeah.
Everything's going east. It'll be farther away
I-
from
If
there.
you, well, as I looked at the pictures of it, when we talked about it before, I didn't
Huh.
see that, but perhaps I read that wrong.
Okay. No, it's just, and the reason I bring that up is, I don't believe, is it visible, the top of the building visible from the interstate itself, though?
No.
Is,
From the interstate, because is
The
that,
top of the building visible from the interstate.
the building is visible, yes, and that's
Okay.
why the request is to have the sign slightly larger because to make it visible also.
also from the interstate? That's your primary?
And
Okay.
that's one of the biggest concerns is having it big enough so that anybody could read it.
Right, okay.
Excuse me, you have to go to the microphone because our public can't hear us on YouTube. Thank you.
What I was trying to say is I'm showing another picture here where it's a little further, taken from a little further to the east. There was some concern that the speedway is going to be shifting east. Well, this is a picture showing the current BP location that's being torn down.
Right,
And if there's going to be a similar sort of overhang, it's going to impede
Okay.
it's going to impede the way that travelers see the side of the building as well. And you can see that in this picture.
okay.
Mm.
All right, thank you.
There's gonna be a sign on the front building, the new building too, correct?
The front sign is the north side, so that'd be facing
Mm.
Worcester. And then a very small sign on the west, just for the folks that are proceeding eastbound. And then, of course, the larger one is east because of the freeway. So those are the 3 building signs that are proposed.
Okay, any additional questions?
Hmm.
All right, we'll close the public hearing and the board will discuss this first request for variance
Wait,
amongst
I have
ourselves.
some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Oh,
think you did. Go
Can
ahead.
we do that?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have some. How high, How high are you putting the sign on the east side?
Um,
That's a pretty high building.
So the,
Would it be like at the top, way at the top? Like
it's not at the very top, but it's, there's windows on the 5th floor.
Yeah,
So it's roughly centered on the windows on the 5th floor. And again, it's because
that's pretty high,
you,
yeah,
you want to be able to see it from,
yeah.
from
Do
the
you-
freeway. And,
do you
and
wanna s-
also, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
There was an existing 60-foot high sign
Mhm.
that we removed it. It was a requirement, but it was actually higher than this building.
Mhm.
And the square footage was much larger, and that's been completely demolished,
Mm.
including the beams and the facings and everything. And we also had another pylon sign that was removed. It was probably 30 feet high. And then, multiple signs that were there in the past. So everything's gone and everything's, nice and new and clean. And we're actually quite proud of the way the building turned out,
Mm.
thanks to all the hard work of planning and, of course, Wood County work with us and the Hilton folks. And excited about opening it, but in these times, we want to make sure that people can see it so they can get to it and, make it successful.
Well, if they get off the interstate, they're gonna see it.
Do you have any?
Are you trying to get people flying at 80 miles an hour to read that sign?
Well,
I mean,
these,
really.
the corporate people that are, way smarter than I am, they have these logos and their logos are actually quite recognizable as long as they're visible. And whether you're going eastbound or northbound, it'll be visible. But if we reduce the size down to the maximum allowed, it'll barely be recognizable. I mean,
You mean from the interstate?
from the interstate, and also if you're off the interstate and you're proceeding from east to west, because the building is set back so far
Mhm.
and there's other things in front of it, if it was lower or smaller, it would almost not even be visible.
Well, the reason I ask about the height, I think you're concerned about the canopy of the service station. That building is much higher than that canopy. But I have a question for Heather. The Hampton Inn and Fairfield are farther back than this. And I don't recall that we've ever gave variances to them for the size of the sign. Hampton and Fairfield. They have no sign, or no trouble with their signs. And I assume they're conforming.
I don't recall. I should ask Bob. Did you look through 5 years of variances?
Yeah, I don't.
No, and they do very well. I mean, pre-pandemic, they're book solid. I think once you get people off the interstate, they're gonna see your building and your sign.
Well, again, it's
You
a
have a
large,
pylon.
it's a large elevation, and the scale of it is, you can see that it's a beautiful scale. It's not like it's overpowering or that we're just trying to ask for something
Mhm.
just for the sake of asking it or blaming it on other people, things that they have done. It's basically just because the building is so far back and facing the way it is with all the things that there's really, it's not like it's facing any residential between there and the freeway. We just want people to see the sign. It's an important part of,
Mm.
we expect a high percentage of the traffic is going to be proceeding from the freeway east, proceeding west. And it's important for that
Mm.
size to be within scale of the building. I mean, reducing the sign, you wouldn't, if you can't read it or recognize the logo, it's going to be a severe hardship to the owner. And also, that's the only reason, one of the other two variances is that we're exceeding the total by a small amount. And
Mm.
we're taking the need for this larger sign and actually creating two variances, because if the sign was smaller, we wouldn't need the variance for exceeding the total, but that's how critical it is to the operation. And that's why we're asking for the relief, because
Well, actually, there is residential that way. Shamrock
Huh.
Courts are back that way.
okay. Are they
Well-
due east of the property, or are they more south?
They're a little southeast, but they're more east than south.
I just
I would
don't
say
think
maybe
that
like
that's a hardship because we have other hotels that are in worse location that have signs that are conforming, and you can read them when you come in. They're very legible.
I don't know what the square footage of the existing ones are.
They can't be more than what, 112? That's what they are.
If I may,
112.
Ms. Hess,
Uh-huh.
I'd like to show you a picture of the
Huh.
existing structures that are blocking the current location of the signage.
Mhm,
But
Now
it's
you-
not blocking the north side, and by that point, you'll see the pylon sign too, correct?
mhm.
Well,
That's,
perhaps,
that's pretty much right in front of the property.
perhaps, but that's assuming the variance today gets granted for the pylon sign.
Mm.
So if you're telling us that, okay, well, we can assume that, but we don't know.
Well, you can assume you see the sign from the front of the building. From the north
Mm.
side, you'll see the sign.
From this location, yes. But we don't know what's going to be constructed there is my point. Okay, you guys just mentioned that these two units, these two gas stations are going to be combined into one larger gas station, correct?
Mhm.
And you granted several variances for their signage and their other obstructions, correct?
Well, they were reducing the number of signs
They
as
were, yeah, I
well.
was gonna say, we
Right.
didn't give them several.
But how many variances did they ask for, is my point. And we know they're going to be constructing a larger facility here. And this picture, if it's the smaller facility that it is today, is already blocking that location. So that's what's going to cause the hardship, is the
Hmm.
future addition of larger structures in its way
But
that
that's
we don't
Well, once again, you're
know.
assuming facts not in, we don't know that just yet, do we?
what's
Well,
going
you
in.
just, we just said that there's going to be 8 pumps. There's
Well,
only-
yes, but we
there's
don't
only
know
3
where the
here.
canopy is going to be in relation to that picture, nor do we know if it's going to be blocking that.
Well, but if you look at the picture that I'm showing you, there's 2
Hmm.
units. There's 2
Correct,
in
but
the
you're
Speedway.
saying, but you were saying this might block that, but once again, you'll see the pylon sign by that point.
Right.
It won't matter the side of the sign,
Well,
the side of
but
the side.
This is one location. If I'm further to the east, I likely will have similar obstruction. Okay, I didn't take a video of what it would look like traveling down the road, however.
Hmm.
But this clearly shows the obstruction that currently exists. And if there's a larger structure that's going to be built, then logic
like-
indicates that there's going to be a larger obstruction.
No, it's not going to be higher, though. You
But
have an
again,
advantage
Right.
with 5 stories. That,
That Speedway, the big
Yeah.
sign's coming down.
Right, but
Yeah.
you can't see the,
But-
the current existing potential location of the Home 2 sign.
but you'll see
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sign on the
Wait,
north.
wait, let one person at a time go here. Please.
Yeah, you can't see based on the current, and it's not the Speedway sign, I'm talking about the BP sign. You cannot see where the Home 2 east-facing sign will be.
But you'll see the home to north facing sign.
Perhaps.
Well, then you can perhaps see the east facing sign too, if you're using that logic.
Well, but I'm just suggesting that if we're talking about hardships, what we're talking about is an unknown size structure that's going to be built at this location.
Sure.
We already know there's current obstruction, so if it's a larger structure, the only logic would tell you that there's going to be further obstruction, which causes further hardship to the owner. That's my
To
point.
the east side sign, but probably not to the north side sign.
Right, we're not asking for a variance for the north side. sign.
Just the east.
But I-
Right, but you'll see the north side sign. So what's the
Right.
point of having east side sign bigger if you're going to see the north side sign? What's the point of having the east side sign bigger if by that point you're going to see the north side sign?
Because you want to attract the traffic from the highway.
But they will see the.
But back to Rose's point, the other hotels in that area don't have variances for their signs
and we
for
only have
that
3,
purpose either.
total 3.
But the other hotels don't have as close of access to the highway to take advantage of it. So you mentioned the, what was it, the Hampton Inn?
Mhm.
The Hampton Inn is set further back, as you
Way
pointed
back.
out. So their visibility from the highway is diminished anyway. So had they wanted to come and ask for a variance, we would never know what their potential might be. But in essence, what we're dealing with is, you know, we don't have a request from them to ask for a variance. We have demonstrated, I think, a pretty good hardship in this instance, just for the board's consideration.
I have a question. Is the BP sign coming down?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it is.
coming down.
I understand
Yeah.
that, ma'am, but I don't know what they're building is the point.
Oh,
That's why I'm suggesting that even under the current signage, it's obstructing. And if we're going to be building a bigger structure, a larger
Mhm.
structure, it's likely to be at least as obstructing as this. Probably more.
wait, which will be,
The new building, the new gas station that's being
will be big,
installed.
taller than yours?
No, it will be
No,
taller than
no,
the current
no,
existing
no.
BP and the current existing
Right.
speedway.
But
is
again,
my
you'll
point.
see it from, you'll see the north side sign from that angle.
The north side sign from this angle.
Correct.
yes.
Hmm.
So the canopy doesn't matter. Because the east side sign is moot at this point.
Well,
Hmm.
but I can show you another photo.
You're talking about just seeing it from the expressway is the hardship, not
But I
the,
can show you a
seeing it
different
from-
photo. This is a photo taken directly from my driver's side window as I was passing by on the road.
near to where the pylon signs.
No, this is to the east of where the entrance is. So the pylon sign is to the west of the entrance, the west of the road that enters the property. This is to the east of the speedway, and I'll show it around. I'm sorry. That's from my vehicle. You can't see either
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, can I see that?
Yeah, please.
That's the thing. what you're
So
saying.
by the time I'm traveling down the road, if I don't have a big sign to catch my eye,
Hmm.
by the time I'm traveling down the road, if I don't have a big sign to catch my eye, I could miss both signs and then be left with potentially just the pylon sign, which might not provide a sufficient amount of access or notice for a motorist to turn in without causing some kind of jeopardy to passersby or other vehicles.
I'm sorry, can I see that photo one more time? Thank you. Now,
Yeah.
the location of your hotel is
Directly behind that.
directly behind it, which means in order to, that you're all the way down roughly, and I'm sorry, Joan, but this, you're all the way down to this location, essentially, that drive. Anything to the east, that drive, begins at incline up
Anything,
from the exit. If you're driving from the east towards the building, you're starting up and coming down. So you're already above the speedway scenario. In my mind, your argument in terms of a hardship speedway has nothing to do with this. The hardship, I understand and will consider, is from the highway.
Mhm.
And I would consider from the highway only.
Exactly what,
Thank you.
that's exactly what it is. From, it's
Okay,
having,
well-
having a building that's as high as it is with proximity to the freeway, and then having removed a sign that was 60 feet high, which is even higher than the building, which was larger, and
We're just
trying
doing the
to,
first one, so
which was
because
quite
we're
visible
doing
from the
that.
freeway,
We're just
south
taking the
and
first
north,
one.
and
So
just
if you've got
trying
questions,
to
wait till the-
capture that visibility. It's just a critical part of the hotel. I mean, that's where most of the traffic is going to come, and that's what you want them to see.
Thank you.
Thank
But
you.
again, I want to point out that none of those businesses can be seen from the highway. Except,
Well, some of
Bob
those businesses have
and
large,
Frickers.
yeah, some
and
of
they
those
do
businesses,
fine, they thrive.
but they have large signs that are visible from the freeway, just like this site had at one time.
No,
And a lot of people travel and they recognize that logo, the Home 2, the Bob Evans, and it's really a huge part of the marketing, and I just can't tell you how important it is. It's
All right, I'm going to read what the variance that that we're going to be voting on again. It's for the construction of a 169.56 square foot wall sign on the east elevation of the building, which would exceed the 112 maximum allowable size of a sign in the B2 General Commercial Zoning District by 57.56 square feet. That's what we're voting on now. That's what we're going to, I need a motion for now.
So moved.
Seconded.
was that Chris
No, Bob.
or
Um,
Bob?
Me.
The motion has been made and seconded for the first, request. Rose, will you
Okay.
call the roll?
All right, Bob Waddle,
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry,
We're gonna
I'm sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, I guess my point would be, and the reason why I wanted to get to that point so quickly, in my mind, the question is this a trade-off of one of the high lines versus something that's on the side of the building, hopefully proportionate? So if I'm gonna think about that, I'm recognizing this is essentially the first one, freeway. I understand. Yes.
I do too.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Mhm.
I anticipated this, so I got on the freeway and wanted to see if I could see the hotel enough to know that it's a hotel. And again, not to be foolish, but when you're doing the speed limit at 75 mile an hour, when you reach a point where you're going to commit to get off the freeway, you have that commitment in mind. In other words, you can't spot that sign at the last moment and then get off, or, sorry, that building. From a marketing standpoint, I clearly understand why they would want to capture you first. As you get off on the roundabout, and again, you're in an elevated area, the first thing you'll see would be that hotel versus having to travel down to eventually where you're going to have to in another couple of years, going all the way down to Alumni and turn around to get across the street. At that point, you're looking at Fairfield and you're looking at,
Hampton?
so you're looking at competitors. So I understand from a marketing standpoint what he's trying to do. I'm not so sure that this is going to really make a difference in terms of getting you to pull off the highway when you're traveling at that rate of speed. Going southbound, now going northbound, that's a different story. Because you have an opportunity to see that before you pull off. So that's a decision you have to make together.
Okay, any other comments? Any other discussion? If not, will the secretary call the roll, please?
Okay, David,
No.
Hobby? Hobby?
Oh, me? Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to say yes.
Hess, no. Judy?
Yes.
Chris Ostrowski,
No.
Bob Waddle,
Yes.
3-3.
Mhm.
It's a tie.
So it goes down,
Pardon?
goes down.
It goes down if it's a tie. All right, the second one we're going to vote on, the second one we're going to consider is the construction of a 74.77 square foot pylon sign that would be off premise and include 3 future tenant panels. One panel would be 74.77 square feet and 2 panels would be 42.03 square feet. Ready?
Do you need anything else from me? I pretty much did my
Hmm.
staff report.
Does anyone have any questions or want Heather to go over something else
I have
again?
A question for Heather. Yes?
Mhm.
Okay. Heather, there are other signs like this or of this kind of style that are along the way. What is their height compared to this?
You know, it really is a mixed bag out there. You know, a lot of those signs were, you know, they could have variances. Some of them were likely annexed and some of that was in the township prior to being built. It's hard to say.
It was hard for me to judge as I looked at them because they are, like you say, different heights. I
Right.
was trying to determine whether this is in the category of or greater than, and we can't determine that tonight.
I could not without doing some further research for you, which I'm happy to do. It's up to you all. If you want to compile a list of questions, I can do that.
Heather, the variance itself doesn't count for anything other than the
Or sign.
home to sign on that island. If these other tenants come into the area, they have either different count of signs, total square footage is different, they're going to have to vary, even if they're using island.
Not necessarily. If they don't exceed their 3-sign maximum or their total aggregate, then they would not. And that's,
And that's what I was at. As long as they stay within their guidance for their particular business, they can use that square footage count towards them.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, and Mr. Frazier, I know we had a discussion about this, and I talked to our city attorney to make sure, because we normally don't approve tenant panels without an actual building being there yet. So he said to just make it clear as part of the variance, and Mr. Frazier agreed that they wanted to ask for that. So that's how we wrote it up a little differently than they normally would. That way you are approving, the entire sign, including those tenant panels, if you deem that to happen.
Because there's no variance needed for the height of the sign, correct?
Correct. The height of the sign is in compliance.
And off premise is where?
It's on that west parcel. So Home 2 sits on one parcel, and then there's a parcel to the west that's not yet developed. So this pylon would be on that adjacent parcel.
How can it be on there if they don't own it?
They do own
Oh,
both
they
parcels.
do own it.
Yes,
Oh, I see.
correct. I was
Okay.
trying to pull that. We got a couple different views of that. So you can see there's the Home 2 parcel, and to the west is another parcel. But yes, they do own both.
Okay. And I have a question about the 42.03 square foot. 2 panels, each 42 or 2 panels total?
Each 42.
Each 42?
Yeah.
So, 42, well, 80 and then 70, 158 square foot. That's a lot, isn't it? Big?
Rose,
Well,
do you have
since
this-
they're-
You have this picture here?
Huh? Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh,
I mean, you could look at it 2 different ways. Either the whole sign together
uh-huh.
would exceed the maximum size of a sign, but since there's gaps in between the panels, we consider those separate signs. So I mean, either way, it's a variance, however you want to word that. We just went with this way because consistently that's how we do it. So either way, it's either size or, looking at the 4th sign for Home 2.
Well, if they're not allowed to have the first request and they have 112, then that will reduce the total aggregate, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
By, yeah.
But either way, you're still looking at that, then the off-premise location.
Mm-hmm.
Mind if I comment?
Hmm. Uh-huh.
First of all, I just have to say that I'm very, very disappointed in not having the first variance approved, because the sign is so beautiful and it's perfectly in proportion to the building and all the reasons stated. And the prior applicant had an opportunity to make a slight modification, and we didn't even have that opportunity. And it's really disappointing, because this is the most important sign on the building, and it's actually perfect in the way of proportion to the size of the building. But what we're looking at on this pylon sign is this particular variance is to have it off premises. That's the only part of this particular variance. And the reason we're asking for that is we're looking out in the long-term benefit of the city, because clearly the property next door can have a pylon sign down the road when they develop it. And this property can have a pylon sign, and then we'd have pylon sign, pylon sign. So we're trying to eliminate the proliferation of all these signs by taking what could be 2 into 1 and having them so close together. So hopefully that you would agree that having 1 sign for 2 properties is much more favorable to the residents in the community than just sign after sign after. We're not asking to bring it any closer than 25 feet, even though they have them all over the city that are closer than 25 feet. We just want to, again, it's a technical variance to have it off premises. If you say we don't want it, then, we're going to be stuck with 2 signs possibly. But I also wanted to let you know how disappointed I was in the first, and I'd love to have the opportunity to revisit that or amend the variance slightly because it's critical to the operation.
Any other questions or comments?
Not on this one, no.
Beg your pardon?
Not on this, no.
Not on this one?
No.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to go into, we'll close the public hearing and discuss this amongst ourselves. Anybody have any comments on this?
I think in this case, whereas they could have 2 of them, I'm in agreement that it does make sense to
It
bring it
does.
together. Future tenants, even though they don't know what's going to be there or who's going to be there, you've at least accounted for it in some way. So we're not going back and having to rehash it again. So that's a good move.
Okay, we'll come back out, and may I have a motion, please?
All right, wait, I gotta get my sheets here now. Okay,
I will so move.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. Will the secretary call the roll, please?
Ennis,
Yes.
Hobie,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Waddle,
Yes.
Hess, yes.
Your request for that variance was granted. The next is for the construction of a total of 4 signs, 3 wall signs, and 1 pylon sign, which would exceed the maximum number of three signs per business by 1 sign. Do you have any comments or things you'd like to say in regards to?
I would just
that?
say you pretty much just approved 4 signs by approving the pylon.
Yeah, no, I think we did too. Well, Secretary, may I have a motion for that, please?
Okay, so,
So moved?
Second,
second.
motion,
Bob and,
and Bob and Hobie. All right, Rose, please call the roll.
Hess, yes. Hobie,
Yes,
Ennis,
Yes,
Waddle,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and David.
Yes.
Okay,
okay.
go to aggregate. Is that gonna be different?
Yeah, when I added up.
Yeah, it's going to be
um,
different.
You have the maximum 112 square foot wall sign, which I assume they would use on the east, 42.39 square feet and 95.34 square for the, I can't talk, square feet for the other 2 wall signs, and then 74.77 for the pylon you just approved. So that is 324.50 if I added correctly and had all the numbers right. And I would say if the applicants want to correct me, I used my sign package real quick here to figure that out. So that would be within the 336 if I am not missing anything.
Well, I can't do the math that quick, but in any event, whether you're off by 5 or 10 or whatever, we're no way exceeding the 336 that's allowed. And I'm sorry for doing this, but they have a $15 million development that's 200 feet long and 50 feet high facing the freeway and not even meet the total allowable signage and having a little sign on the freeway that nobody can read that's going to look like a mistake. It's almost embarrassing. I mean, people are going to slam their brakes because they're not even going to be able to read what the sign says. I was just hoping that we could somehow increase the size of the east sign and have the same courtesy of amending the ordinance to something different from what we asked for, like the other applicant did. But that's only my opinion, and I appreciate any input that anybody has.
We're not going to have to take a vote on the total aggregate because it's not going to be exceeded the 336, correct?
Correct.
No variance
Unless we
needed.
revisit
That
the
one,
first
that one
one.
we can take off the table.
Unless we revisit the first one.
Anything else?
We voted.
Pardon?
We voted, right?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Anyone else have any other questions or comments? Sir, you have the option always of going to the Court of Common Pleas.
Pardon me?
You have the option of going to the Court of Common Pleas if you find something that you're not in agreement with. That's why we have the court reporter and the transcript. So that's an option that you have.
Very good.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Thank you very
moved.
much.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Please stay until you sign all the papers.
Heather, can I take these home and do these tonight? And bring them to you tomorrow? Thank you.
And has ever cancer, Pittsburgh, right?
Okay. Oh,
Coming home soon,
this
Dad?
is so
Coming home soon?
confusing.
The dog is barking.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Not signed.
I figured something important had to be happening.
the
if
dog
you,
was
I forgot to
outside.
mention,
Oh,
Hunter,
and now,
Hunter
my
said,
dog's
as
having a
city
baby, too.
prosecutor, I would note the speed limit is 70, not 75.
You
put that in the chat,
I saw
so-
that last night you were speeding when you.
Yeah, well, people are going faster than 75.